one retired couple could keep supporting their family, protect their retirement, and reduce their inheritance tax by £24,000 annually. Their bank statements didn't tell the whole story. Let me walk you through the entire process. Could 24,000 a year inheritance tax savings vanish without proof? What we'll cover today is just details in regards to kind of why you need to make documentary evidence and how to do it, because it's a very important exemption in regards to inheritance tax, gifting out of ordinary income, because there's no 2 year, 7 year kind of rule. It'll immediately from day one come out of your estate for inheritance tax purposes. So trying to getting this right and making sure everything's documented and there's no questions or anything unanswered that HMRC could kind of look into is kind of really important. But I think firstly is making sure that your short-term and long-term lifestyle isn't going to be impacted by these gifts or this kind of family support, regular family support payment. Obviously, in your bank statement, if HMRC, for example, has access to a bank statement when they're doing an investigation, it kind of records payments but doesn't kind of document the whole pattern. It's very kind of binary. It shows money leaving the account, doesn't explain where it's going, source, or doesn't define your kind of normal expenditure or lifestyle expenditure, and doesn't kind of prove a sustainable pattern. So it's important to make sure that there is kind of documentary evidence to say, look, this is what my income is, this is what my expenditure is, this is what the family payments are for, and they kind of gifts. And if it all kind of stacks up and it isn't impacting your short-term or long-term lifestyle, then great. It potentially would be subject to an immediate reduction in your inheritance tax liability on your estate. The thing with the exemption with the gifts out of ordinary income is that generally the way HMRC kind of would view it is that it needs to ideally be over the last kind of 12 months. There can be some circumstances where it could be potentially longer, but generally it's the last kind of 12 months worth of kind of income where you would look at the recurring income that's received. So things like your salary, dividends, rental income, whatever is a regular recurring income that you've received, and then look at your normal household bills, so utility bills, mortgage, rent, whatever it could be, which are a class of essential outgoings, and then your lifestyle spending, so things like going out and holidays, a combination. And then once you've figured out what your net income is, so your recurring income minus all your outgoings, then you can potentially have a look at how much you could comfortably afford to gift or provide as regular family support, and just ensure that it's all kind of evidenced as well and documented, just to make sure that if there is an investigation, HMRC will have a clear audit trail and know exactly what the regular family support is and why it kind of qualifies for this exemption or gifting out of ordinary income. And I think when I was mentioning before about how HMRC would normally look at the last kind of 12 months in respect to kind of gifts out of ordinary income, it's because, for example, you can't turn around and to HMRC and say, look, I've had surplus income of, X amount over the last kind of 10 years, and now it's kind of built up to about £300,000 of funds, which is my surplus income. So I'm going to gift that and then get immediate relief on those funds. HMRC wouldn't deem that as acceptable. They would deem that as a capital gift, i.e. the 7 year rule would apply if you're gifting that outright, or for example to a trust. They would potentially look at the last kind of 12 months. So if you, for example, had a regular monthly income plus a quarterly bonus plus annual bonus, then potentially they could look at all of that in combination as your recurring regular income. So yes, then you could potentially gift any surplus from that as to family, to trust, and ensure that kind of benefits immediately from that IHT inheritance tax relief. And then what I was saying at the beginning was to ensure that your own needs are met, which is the primary thing you really need to look at doing, is making sure that your short term and your long term standard of living is met, and you're not gifting excessively or providing family support payments excessively. That's going to impact your own ability to manage your kind of own lifestyle, really. And then it would obviously just ensure that anything you do document and anything that does come into attention of HMRC, they're not going to say, look, you gifted too much. And with any kind of gift like this, which is a recurring gift out of your ordinary income, there needs to be a pattern, not just a kind of a one-off and one-off explanation and document in respect to that. And the regular support obviously is over the recurring income, and it's affordable after normal expenditure and your lifestyle expenditure as well, and ensure, as I say, it's not going to impact your ability to maintain your lifestyle in the short or medium or long term as well. And then the records that really you need to ensure you keep is to ensure that kind of the dates and amounts of payments are kind of documented, the income received in the year, and details in regards to your normal expenditure and lifestyle costs, and why the support was regular and affordable. And it's always best practice to potentially sign that in front of a witness as well, and get them to sign it, an unconnected independent witness, and then put that somewhere safe where your executors know where it is and know what it's there for as well. I actually helped kind of formalize an annual record. A couple were approximately earning about £220,000 of annual income. They did also already have a recurring family support in place, but they had nothing documented. Had been going on for a little while. So what I did was ensure kind of fully documented levels of their income, their outgoings, not only essential but their lifestyle outgoings as well. Make sure there was a bit of a buffer, safety buffer, just in case there was a extra expense 1 month, 1 year, to ensure that's kind of covered, whatever it may be, like house repair, car repair, for example. And then the rest was kind of documented as and it wasn't impacting their lifestyle in the short, medium, or long term as well. And it just meant, based on this couple, they had £60,000 income that they were able to kind of gift, which just meant that they had to benefited from £24,000 annual reduction in their inheritance tax liability, which if you had a large tax liability on your estate, doesn't sound much. But for example, with this couple, they had maybe, I don't know, another 20 plus years until they hit average life expectancy. 20 years of £24,480,000 inheritance tax savings. So it does accumulate and can kind of add up over the years. And potentially, if you're combining this with lots of other different kind of strategies, then it could have quite a significant impact on that final inheritance tax bill on your estate. And again, it just means the more of your estate is potentially going to your family, your loved ones, rather than. And I think, as I said throughout this video, the most important thing is making sure you've got records and documents that explain kind of the full story, and it kind of stands up. Anyone who reads it cold, like HMRC will be, can fully understand what you were doing, why you were doing it, and yes, it didn't impact your lifestyle, and it's valid, and meets the gifts out of ordinary expenditure rules. So really, just separate recurring income from capital, put normal expenditure and security first, connect regular support to that annual record, and then keep evidence, keep documents while the facts are current, rather than retroactively 10 years doing a document that is from documenting something that happened 10 years ago. And then review the pattern while you're financially secure. So if you're wanting more of your estate to go to your family rather than HMRC, I did create a IHT diagnostic, which will give you guidelines on how much potentially you'll owe and what you can do about the inheritance tax liability. The link is in the description of this video. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button as well.